And the
go.
farm has been officially posted on Open Builds, and a lot
Oh,
of people,
awesome.
I've gotten a lot of message, and pretty crazy. How I didn't think it was going to be like, holy crap. I mean, to me it's cool, but I didn't think anybody else was going to gravitate to it. But
So it's
yeah, I mean,
got a lot of potential.
yeah. And somebody was asking me like, is there a way to convert that to a lathe? And I'm like, I don't think it's rigid enough to do that, unless what you're cutting is plastic or something really soft. But
Well, the horsepower that is required for a lathe to put a lathe tool through a piece of material is a heck of a lot more than the horsepower that's required to do the same thing with an end mill that is doing the bulk of the cutting, and you're just doing the profiling and everything else. So you can.
yeah, I was looking at small, basically brushlesses. There was a couple I saw that were not the type that you would use on like a quadcopter, but more industrial applications.
Yeah,
And
the
they're
price
upwards to
goes.
like, you can get them in 200 amp, 250 amp, and of course, these are DC. But I was looking at that, and that could be fairly easy to convert the A axes to that, but you lose basically the ability to step. It's either one direction or the other, unless once again you stick an encoder on it, and then you can kind of detect
Yeah.
precision. But
Then it
Right.
becomes a turbo motor almost at that point.
that's
Yeah,
going to be
well,
like
servo drive.
yeah, that would be Rev 2. Not right now. I'm kind of at a point where I've added so many features that I need to put out, so I need to stop. So I mean, it's pretty much assembled. It's not in here. It's in the office right now. Can't get it to jog just yet because the frickin' GT3 pulleys I got don't fit because whatever. I hate getting stuff on eBay. I really do. It took forever to get here too, and I ordered that well before I ordered the stuff before the
And it was from the
exchange.
U.S.?
What the bore diameter is wrong?
No, it's like tapered or something.
Oh, weird.
Oh.
Because like it partially goes through and then it stops. So when I checked the diameter of the ball screw, the ball screw is pretty concentric all the way down. But yet when I stick, like for example, I took a wooden dowel and I sanded it down to the exact size as the ball screw, I can see where it starts to pinch into the wood. So it's tapered in some fashion, and I'm not really equipped to like open that up.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of
Need a
screwed
reamer.
there. But that's the
Can
only
you,
hiccup right now.
I assume you've got a digital caliper.
Yeah. I checked both sides; they don't match, front and rear.
What's the
Mastercard.
what's the difference?
0.62 millimeters.
So a little over a half millimeter.
Yeah.
Okay, 0.62.
And and the thing about that too is it has three grub screws in them too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, even if I am able to widen it out, I don't want to screw with. I don't
Yeah.
want it to be lopsided.
Yeah.
So I don't have a
Pretty hard
lathe
to read
that I could like dial it in dead center to the pulley and then just make a new hole. So
Yeah, that's like 23, little over 23 thousandths wrong.
Yep.
If you wanna send them to me, I can chuck them up and bore them out for you.
Oh, too late. I already ordered another set from another place. I got them on Amazon instead.
Okay.
I did that yesterday.
Okay.
It's a bummer. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Once I do the build of materials, I need to like really snap down and find a place that can reliably sell this stuff, or else this whole project is useless if it's not repeatable.
Yeah.
So
Of course, have you bought anything from Stock Drive Parts?
negative.
Oh, they have
Mastercard?
good quality. McMaster car is got less availability, less part numbers than Stock Drive Parts does.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
I didn't really see anything that was GT2 or GT3 specific. I found stuff that was close, but it was like in McMaster.
Oh, and McMaster, yeah.
So I didn't want to risk that.
Yeah. Stock Drive Parts has got GT2 and GT3 and they've got endless belts in both 2 and 3. You know, in
Oh wow,
various.
that store is crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check it out. What was it called again, so I could bookmark it?
SDPI-SI.com. Oh, here, I'll, for everybody else's edification, I'll post it in the forum.
Yeah.
Or in the chat window, anyway.
You know, you other guys that are there, Tony and Larry, speak up. You know, don't let the 3 of us do all the talking. You know, well, you know, let us know what you're up to. Ask us any questions you might have.
Just look up the mic.
Hey, I hear you.
All right. So
Tony's been working on something today. I saw him talking about something. I think he had some problems with his X or Y axis. I don't think he knew which.
Yeah, that was in the chat thing. I thought I was off by 7,000, and it's not so bad. I found out that my geometry was off by 4. So part's wrong, but I'm happy that the machine is working all right.
well, and with an x-carve, you should be really happy.
Well, I saw that somebody, I think Zach said you should be able to get it within 2 thou, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know.
Their published resolution is 0.03 millimeter, I think, to 0.15 millimeter.
On XY?
I think it's the published resolution on them.
On all 3 axes, or just X and Y? Oh, so that's right. The stock Z on an X-carve is a threaded rod, right? Not an Acme.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but
no, on the X-carve, it's Acme, isn't it? On the X-carve,
you can get 8 millimeter threaded rod.
Yes, Acme was an option.
Okay.
Acme is an option, and so.
Well, random thought here.
Want a random thought? Go ahead.
How bad would it be to put a cutoff wheel in the spindle and do some undercuts?
A cutoff wheel in the spindle and do
That's
some
like dangerous.
Okay. It's all right. When you say cutoff wheel, are we talking a slitting saw?
Close, yes. Not
Okay.
not abrasive.
Not abrasive. Something that's got teeth on it.
It's got some teethus.
Okay, that to as a slitting down to diameters and small. And the answer is yes and no. All right. And the reason I say that is easel won't do it.
Well, of course, yeah.
No. If you're working with Lennox CNC or Mach 3 or Mach 4 and a CAM software where you can tell it that you know we've got to move over this distance before we go down, and then we can go in and we can make a cut, you know, horizontally, but then we've got to move out before we come back up. Where if you've got software and CAM software that you can do that, the answer is yes.
Yeah, you would have to treat it like a keyhole cutter, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And the published resolution for the or accuracy they call it is 0.075 to 0.013 millimeters. So throw that into your calculator if you want to convert it to
Imperial.
Imperial.
So
Divide it by. Go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about the slitting saw because Aspire can do it, Fusion can do it. I'm trying to think of what else you could.
My Brute Cam can do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something free though.
Well, probably
I mean, you can manually G-code that if it's a simple op, if you're just putting a slice into something, but otherwise.
Yeah, you could write that.
Write that, handwrite that. Geometry, as in the profile is curved, you know, it goes in and then curves out, then that's going to be hard as hell to code by hand.
Yeah.
But
probably the best option at this point in time is Fusion 360 with the included cam package that they have with it. I would imagine. But then you're talking about getting away from easel and Arduino and Gerbil.
No, Gerbil and the AVR-based motion controllers can handle that.
Can they?
Yeah, I mean you're just spitting G-code at it. That's not a problem. Getting the cam to understand that the cutting portion is not the tip, and it's on the circumference. I guess if you offset the tool path in some way, but then you're on your I'm not trying to say you're on your own, but that's going to take a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
So you would, wherever the profile is, you would have to offset it whatever the size of the disc is, and then you can follow any profile, a circle or an S-curve or whatever. But that's a lot of trial and error, and then you would have to figure out what that offset is and then memorize it for that tool.
Yeah, be able to go onto your tool. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just going to say random thought.
Oh, no, it's a good thought. If one's building patterns for air-cooled internal combustion model engines, it's something that could come in very handy. So because then you could do a roundy on your cylinder, or if you got a square, you can do a square cooling fins. There's a lot of.
Or make a spring out of a PVC pipe if it's.
Yeah, there you go.
Underneath your Z height.
There you go. Well, stock machines don't have diddly squat for Z height, but that's just a personal opinion.
Yeah.
Actually, I think all three of us changed the Z height, didn't we?
I know John and I did.
Okay. Yep. That's kind of. So the only person who really has a stock, well, I guess Tony would too. So it would be Andrew and Tony.
Yep.
Yeah. And Larry, I think. I don't know that Larry has increased his Z height.
Oh, in the chat room, VFD question. Thinking about getting an air-cooled VFD. When my 300 watt goes out. Don't wait for the 300 to die. Just if you're thinking about getting a VFD.
Yeah, just save the money and get the VFD.
Ready.
And it will die.
Oh,
well, I don't know about that. I mean, I've heard good stories and bad stories on the brushless. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think I've seen them post up saying they've made a design change.
Well, it's still a cheap Chinese DC motor with a ER11 collet adapter stuck out on the end of a spindly little shaft.
Well, but if you remember, they supposedly sent in a bunch of motors for evaluation by the manufacturer, and they said, oh, there was one of the wires broke off, so they were going to put some more adhesive or something to hold it in place.
Right.
And I never heard any more about that.
No.
Well, I thought there was other issues. Just to kind of elaborate on the fact that they're just crappy Chinese spindles. But from what I've read and what I've seen from videos of people actually owning a VFD and the stock spindles, and I'm referring to the Shipoko 2. So I'm assuming that this DC spindle that the Shipoko 2 is similar to what the x-carve has, was the runout. That was the big issue, because where the bearing was located on the internal part, apparently they had the wrong type of bearing on the rear, and not necessarily a smaller bearing, but an improper size bearing on the shaft side. And then furthermore, yeah, that collet piece that's on the end is literally a collet adapter. I have one sitting on my desk right now.
Yeah, that's all it is.
The runout on that alone, plus on whatever the diameter of the shaft, I mean, I don't know if that's,
Eyeball, and it looks like about a 1/4 inch diameter.
Well, okay. But
Just
you know what I
eyeballing.
mean. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like that spindle was purpose built for that collet. It was a collet adapter that happened to fit, I guess, that spindle.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if you're just starting out, it's okay, right? But I mean, the bigger issues of them overheating and burning out, that they need to rectify. I don't know what the cooling is. I think it's a plastic cap that sits on the top of them.
Well,
Yeah, with
the
a fan
plastic
under it.
cap is strictly just a plastic cap. Actually, when I was cutting today, I was kind of feeling the temperature of the body, and it was warm. What I would call warm. To frame that better, I call hot something that gives me a blister, just to keep everything sane, because everything's got pretty high operating temperatures. But I didn't feel much air coming out the top of that vent cap.
Huh? Are they advertising it as air cooled, or any cooling?
No, I doubt that. I mean, there may be some sort of potentially impeller type blade up there, but that's about it.
So in theory, it's using the mount as a heat sink, because I think the mount grabs the entire.
It does, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's probably what they're doing. Is they're using the entire. Well, I don't know if that was intentional, but I'm assuming that's what they're doing. I guess the trick, a quick DIY hack, would be to put thermal compound between the spindle and the mount, like not a crazy amount, but a thin amount between the two if you're having heating issues. But I think what I was reading in the forums were mostly them burning out. Literally, you turn them on, they buzz, and then they just stop spinning, but you hear them buzzing. I mean, that's a coil.
I wonder
Oh, yeah.
how much of that is just overuse. I mean, like guys cutting guitar bodies out. I mean,
Well, mine died without doing. Basically, all I was doing was just doing 10,000 deep etching in clear acrylic to make sure my axes were set correctly, and mine died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
And
you
so
get to a point where you had to kickstart it?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, that seems to be the the first phase of spindle failure, and then
That's a bearing thing, isn't it?
No, that's a
No.
commutator thing.
it was
Okay.
a broken wire thing, according to Zach.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's where the adhesive comment came in. We said, well, they didn't put something down to stop it from vibrating, and then it just snapped itself after a while.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because ironically, the Shipoko 2 I got came with this really, really, really cruddy Dremel. It's here somewhere. I think I tried to use it for something else, and you can literally see the runout. I mean, it's not like you have to put a dial indicator or anything on it. You could see this thing wobbling in midair. So,
I did that to a couple of Dremels.
oh yeah, I could see that. But
I did about 40 hours of work with a Dremel and the flex shaft for a Dremel, the old one that was actually a 1/2 inch in diameter, and I cut about 40 hours worth of 1/8 styrene with it, and needless to say, when I was done, that flex drive was done also.
That's kind of like when I was installing electrical in my basement. I bought a Menards. I don't know if Menards is not really across the country, but it's like a cheap hardware store.
Yeah.
And I bought a 90-degree drill adapter so I could drill the studs for passing the wiring through. And on my very last hole, it died. I'm like, yes, I got my money's worth.
Is that one of the ones where you chuck it up in the drill chuck, and then it's got a handle that you can hold it and drill.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
you let go of the handle, it sits there and goes around and around and around and around.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily, my drill
Okay.
wasn't powerful enough to like snap my forearm when it bound.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Maybe.
so VFDs. So I did a fair amount of research on VFDs. I'm going water cooled. There's not that many high-powered air-cooled ones that I saw at a reasonable price. Let me throw that disclaimer out there. And they seem to top out at 1.5 kilowatts on the air-cooled.
I think there's some basic. Yeah, I think that's just the nature of trying to keep something like that cool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the heat tank would have to be so big at some point that.
Yeah, there's tons of 800 watt or 0.8 kilowatt out there. It just kind of depends what you're doing. The one I was looking at was a 2.2 kilowatt water cooled.
Water cooled with the ER20 in it.
Yeah, I was a little excited and then bummed.
Yeah.
I guess the key question is, what is that person really going to be cutting?
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Maybe Not Provided could answer that for us. What are you cutting? Interesting. I just found the same Makita router I have. You can buy it in a 220 volt version. I wonder if that buys you any extra
Oomph.
power. Yeah. That's interesting.
I wonder if that's for the European market.
Oh, it
It
is.
probably is. You need a different. It's going to be set up for 50 hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah, plug in an inverter.
Yeah.
Run that on a VFD though. That would be easy. Plug right in.
No.
No.
Not three phase.
Oh, because those are three phase. Yeah. that's
Yeah,
right.
it's three phase.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too bad.
But I mean, okay. The 800 watt units, those are pretty. They're fairly small too. I think they're 52 millimeter diameter, and they're about 80 to 85 millimeters tall. They're very small. They're very quiet. And I think those have an ER11A, call it.
ER11A.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
What's the A stand for, I wonder?
I don't know.
Almost.
Yeah, almost ER. That was good, Tony. It's almost an ER tall.
Now,
Not
ironically, when you search for ER11A, the first page that comes up is Inventables.
Yeah?
Okay, so here we go. There is a Wikipedia for CNC stuff, which usually breaks that stuff down. I just kind of wanted the ER20A so it would match up with the bits I already have, plus bigger.
Well, yeah, 20 will go clear to ½ inch.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. It kind of, like we just said, it kind of depends what you're doing. I mean, if anything, if you're not really wanting to go not as crazy as a VFD, I mean, the only complexity is like if you want PWM control, that part gets a little bit tricky because it depends on the controller in question, and then it depends what type of motion controller you have, and then the 0 to 10 volt thing. If you're just looking for more power, I would almost say a router. If you're looking for more power and quiet, then a VFD, for sure.
Well, then the other thing though is RPM control. Really, if you use a router, you can't really go that slow. You can probably
go down to
a little bit
800.
slower with the VFD.
Nah, I think it's 800 RPM too. Not 800, 8,000 RPM.
Yeah.
Because if you go, there's a rate when you start to go so slow that either it doesn't spin or you absolutely have crap for torque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're both 8,000 RPMs. Google will tell me in like 2 seconds here.
You're
That
talking
was
about
mostly
the
looking
Super
for. Oh, good. Sorry.
PID? Was that about the Super PID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That caught my eye for a second because I mean it's like a VFD but not a VFD. But the thing that's tricky about the Super PID is it depends on what router you have. For example, on the 611, it has a soft start. Well, that means you have to remove the triac out of it. And if you're not comfy with any...
It's not hard to do.
Well, okay. It's not if you have like a Makita, Black & Decker, or something of the sort. But the DeWalt's, they have this crazy setup on top. I didn't realize the entire top of that thing is a PCB. I took actually, I could probably do it real quick and take a picture of it. I mean, I found the TRIAC. I found where all that is, but there is so much more going on than I thought on the top of that. I mean,
I think
you would
my
think
little
it's an
Makita
AVR with some sort of like, okay, there will be a couple chokes, and obviously there's going to be a trim pot that gives it a reference voltage. No, there's a lot more than that going on up there. So, I mean, it's easy to remove because you're basically bypassing that pot, the analog pot that's in the router, and then the super PID is taking over by controlling the input voltage, and that's how you're controlling the RPM. Super PIDs are easier to install because it's literally one wire, the PWM wire, 0 to 5 volts. So that's a complexity thing, right? So if you go VFD, that's great and dandy, but then you can either use a standard analog pot right directly on the VFD, which they all are pinned out for. Some have the pot, some don't. Or you can use an external device, for example, a computer or something else, but then that gets a little bit tricky because you have to provide it a reference ground, a reference voltage, and then PWM. And then the PWM is a little finicky because it depends on the frequency you're pumping into it, and in that frequency, the voltage. Now, Linux CNC can handle all of that, but TinyG, Smoothie, Gerbil, not sure. No, they can, but it's trickier than that.
Yeah, but...
Hey, see, I know you're not a big fan of AVRs, but it's not always impossible. It just takes more work.
What does AVR stand for?
Arduinos and such.
Oh. Okay.
I like that. Oh.
Well, actually, I got an Arduino sitting right up there on the shelf.
Yeah, it's a bookend, right?
Yeah, right. No, it's being held down by a 8020 catalog that's about 2.5 inches thick.
Wow. I love me some Arduinos.
Yep. Yeah. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just started playing with the Arduino stuff. I've been an AVR guy for a long time.
Well,
usually the AVR guys, the pure AVR guys, would hate the Arduino. So you're the
I know. I went to a ham radio function and this guy was just crapping on it for like 20 minutes.
You can't crap on it when it gets the exposure it does. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I like it. I mean, it's like it's nice in a sense that I can code something fairly quickly to do one stupid little function. I mean, like for example, speed sensing. It's not that difficult, right? And it's fairly quick. You could do it in an afternoon if it's your first time messing around with an Arduino. And there's a lot of libraries already out there, right? And you can cut and paste stuff to get it to do what you want. But once you get good and start understanding what you're cutting and pasting, then it gets better, right? And you can do all types of crazy, complex functions.
I got one for you, Tony, or for Eves. If I wanted to control this little Z drive,
okay,
so that I could spin it full 360 degrees, all right, with a
servo.
Yeah, with a servo motor, and do it via a RC transmitter that has joysticks. All right, and when I put the joystick one direction, it'll swing around and push the boat one way, and if I put the joystick over the other direction, it'll turn 90 degrees or 180 degrees or anywhere in there in the middle of that. And then if I keep pushing the joystick even further forward, or then the motor comes on and the propeller starts turning and the RPMs come up. So I know that there has to be a way to take two channels from my transmitter into a Arduino, and then one comes out to rotate the stepper motor so that the drive rotates, and then another one comes out that goes to the electronic speed control that regulates the speed of the motor, so you get your RPM. My problem is I'm not a programmer. I mean, it's totally Greek to me.
Do you care that there is a 0 for
Yes.
the rotation?
Yes.
And that gets
Yes.
into I'm not sure if there's any servos that actually have encoders.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
hoses would work.
What,
There's definitely servos with encoders, but there's two ways you can do that. What you're talking about is called channel mixing. I think John's a quadcopter guy.
I like him, yeah. So is Tyler. He's actually making his own, right? Probably that's probably what he's doing while he's listening, is working on his quadcopter.
Yeah, that's channel mixing, where basically you take two inputs and you mix them in to do one function. So there's two ways you can kind of do that. You could totally do that with an AVR, of course, but they do sell more expensive radios. There's a Futaba that pops into mind that can do that at the radio. These are the type of radios you plug into a USB port into your computer, you do all of this, and then that profile for that. Okay, so it's really designed for if you have one remote and you want to do a helicopter, a boat, a car, and a quadcopter. So you set these profiles, and within those profiles you could set like different types of parameters. For example, on a quadcopter, forward and back, what it's doing is torquing forward, torquing back. Helicopters are the same. Boats are slightly different. Cars are slightly different. So you could change. I'm trying to figure out a better, easier way to say this without a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo. Basically, you're taking two analog inputs or outputs, and you're mixing it from one input. So tilting the stick forward will give you one thing, and then you do forward at an angle. It would mix those two values, and you would get whatever result you want on the other side.
Right.
So yes, an AVR can do that, an Arduino can do that, or you would get a better radio that can do that. And that would probably
the easier option.
Yeah, that would probably require a receiver upgrade. I'm not 100% sure. Because I have a couple quadcopters, well, actually two quadcopters and one nitro dirt buggy thingy. But I have a really old Futaba radio. And a friend of mine who had a...
Spectrum?
Hmm?
Those Spectrums? The brand?
Probably his was like this kind of grayish stealth bomber looking. It had a screen on it and everything. He had it with his quadcopter, and he was able to do that. He was able to do mixing and also control other things. Like he had a Bombay door and stuff, and he was able to do all types of crazy stuff with it. And that was happening directly from the remote. No microcontroller in between. So I don't even know where the price point starts on something like that.
Yeah. Of course, he was on a quadcopter. You're controlling the speed of the propellers. You've got 4 propellers, and if you want it to go left, you speed up the right-hand side and slow down the left-hand side, and it'll move according to that. If you want it to go up, you increase all 4 speeds, and it goes up. Slow them down, and it comes down. Everything else. So it's slightly different than what I'm trying to do, in that when the joystick is centered, I want the drive to come around and point aft, so that the vessel would be going forward. And then if you move the joystick off to the right a little bit, then the drive will turn 90 degrees and push you sideways. If you pull it back a little ways, then it'll flip around and it'll push you aft and everything else. So it's slightly, I think, slightly different in that I've got to mix
just the motion, just the controls or just the propulsion is a little different. But I mean, it's still mixing.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking, John. So you know the KK boards? They're like the little AVR boards that you stick on quadcopters that has the little LCD screens.
Yep.
Okay, that's what's handling those mixing. So I'm wondering, the thing about those is that they have a crap ton of profiles already in it, and it is open source. You could change it, but then that would add the complexity of Dave saying he's not a programmer, right? So in theory, you could use a quadcopter controller, and then you could mix that in, so then you could use a standard radio, and then on the input side of the quadcopter, when it receives it, then it would mix it at the boat per se.
Yeah.
But I was trying to figure out a way where you don't have to open up the Arduino IDE, and
Yeah, I think there's all kinds of libraries out there for the Arduino to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I could tell you how to do that with the Arduino, but I couldn't really tell you how to do it without that. And aside from the radio that does the mixing on board, right?
And even with one of those radios, I mean that would some of those get pretty complicated, Dave. I mean they're certainly capable of doing it, but you'd have to have somebody program it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Is this the boat that you're working on? Is it a one-off, or is it something you plan on mass producing?
The one I'm holding in my hand is a drive that a friend of mine got. She got them from Germany, a pair of them, and they came, and the mount for the drive was garbage, and so I'm rebuilding the mount. My partner in New Zealand and I have designed and are building much bigger all-metal Z drives for tugboats and towboats. For ASD, which is azimuthing stern drive, or for tractors that are azimuthing front drive and everything else. And we would like to, sell them.
Okay, so this is not a one-off type thing.
No, I've got castings for 6 units out in the shop right now.
Okay, so here's what I guess we as an entity can do. If you can kind of like write down basically the performance, what you're expecting when you do what, and then I will investigate the KK boards and see what limitations on how many, I don't want to say servos, but see, it's different because you're doing torque turn.
Yeah.
I would have to.
And he said one of his motors was a stepper motor too.
Yeah, you can add stepper motors. There's tons of I/O on those boards. But what I'm saying is the behavior he expects when he pushes forward or reverse or left and right, because that's as far as our Arduino is concerned, that's two separate. It's not two separate functions, but it's two separate things it has to do. So it can't just go forward with just power propulsion, but it has to turn the ASIPod in whatever direction also.
Right.
So my question is, if he does 30 degrees left, that means it needs to move the ASIPod 30 degrees and then ramp up RPM, is what I'm gathering. So
that's what I understand too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and these little boards, man, they're cheap. They're sub $10 little things with little screens on them too. But the nice thing is that once we figure this profile out, you could just basically program it directly to the board, and then depending on the type of ship, if you have classes like, okay, this one has no ASIPods, it just has standard propellers, and this one has propellers and thrusters and stuff like that, we could build those type of profiles in, and then the screen, it's a little tiny LCD screen, like those little Nokia screens, you could pick what it is, and then go from there. There's going to be development ahead of time to do that. Go ahead.
The model boat builders have got standard shaft and propeller and nozzle configurations down pat. They put electronic speed controls in for the DC motors that spin the propeller, and then simple servos for turning rudders, or if they use a steerable nozzle, they just use they've got that down pat. What we're looking to do is provide to the model tugboat fraternity that uses Z drives, or would like to use Z drives if they could get quality Z drives, where they can have their radio control in their hand, and they can literally walk their boat sideways or backwards or at an oblique corner, or if it's a towboat and they've got 2 or 3 barges out in front of them, they can turn things one direction and the other direction, and they can literally walk that whole set of barges sideways, or whatever they want to do with navigation, because they do navigation competitions where there's a set of buoys and everything else and a course, and you get points for making your corners and not running over buoys and making it through everything in time and everything else. And and one of the limits now is that the Z drives that are out there will only turn usually about 180 degrees. All right, and we're looking to have a Z drive that will do a continuous 360. All right, it as long as you are taking and turning your joystick in a circle. All right, the Z drive is following that joystick, and when you stop it so it's pointed amidships, then you're going to go crosswise. And then when you bring your joystick back to the center, you want it to return to home so that you're going ahead again.
Yeah. So
can you cross them so like one could be pointing right, one could be pointing left?
Sure.
For a spin?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're going along with both of them pointing half and you're going full speed ahead, all right, the way these guys do a crash stop is really interesting. I talked to a fellow that runs full-sized Z drive tugboats, and he said when they crash stop, they turn both the drives outboard and go ahead all full. All right, and he says it will stop a tug in about 2.5 lengths. I mean, but he says it's very violent. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Hey, Dave, do any of the guys that do this, I mean, it's kind of probably a crazy question, but do any of them model the actual propulsion characteristics of the boats, in the drives, so that like the way that it would, that it's a scaled proportionately, I guess, the drive, the way that it would perform.
Yeah. Yeah. They try not to take a tugboat that's designed to go 12 to 15 knots and get it up on a plane,
There's can be fun to that.
Yeah. So, and when you're hitched up to a barge for a competition, it's finesse. It's going around the course and making your turns correctly and everything else. It's finesse, and you get points for that and everything else. So the higher.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the board I was referring to. What I forgot about is it has gyros built in.
Ah.
So in theory, you can kind of do an inertia type thing where it detects how much it's going forward, and you could kind of, I don't want to say handicap, but change a curve dynamically. Like, okay, you could switch a switch a button on the remote to go, okay, I want you to kind of delay or slow every function I do to add that type of
sure
profile
dexterity.
Oh, wow,
that's cheating, I guess, but.
Well, hey. The towboat that I envision building will quite probably have a FPV in the pilot house, so that when I'm clear out on the course, I can see the buoys going beside me and line up on them and everything else. They might gig me for that, I don't know, but we'll see. Well, we got a long ways off of CNC with my rant and raving. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
No,
How
but
was
what
your
you're talking
flying?
about is possible. We have the technology. We can do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's just how far do you really want to go with that? Is it something you're just wanting completely? I don't want to say dumb on the boat side, but um,
Well, I'd like what I envision. All right, is if a modeler buys a set of our drives, and they're gonna run somewhere between $450 and $500 a piece. So he's gonna have somewhere between $900 and $1,000 wrapped up just in the drives.
wow.
Right. Well, for some modelers, that's nothing. The steam stern wheeler that I just finished, there's about $10,000 in that boat. And then I'd like to either do an open source Arduino thing where a person could get his own Arduino and stepper motors and everything else for hooking up the drive to it. The DC motor, the stepper motor, et cetera, and all. So, or I'd also like to maybe provide a plug and play unit that comes with a pair of stepper motors, one for each drive, and a Arduino that you plug the four channels in for the two joysticks, and you come out with one that goes to the stepper motor, and you come out with one that goes to the electronic speed control for your motor for your power, and and there's no modifications to the guy's transmitter, and he doesn't have to go out and buy a outrageously expensive transmitter. Just one that's got two joysticks, and you plug it in, and when you go forward, it goes forward, and when you go aft, it goes aft.
Okay, I sent you a link to the KK board.
Okay, I see it there.
Yeah, that's basically it. So those are designed for quadcopters. Basically, it runs an AVR, or basically has an Arduino. I think it's a Atmel 328P, basically an Arduino Uno or equivalent.
Okay.
I think that one has how many inputs? So I think it's 6 steppers and then additional I/O, and it has the gyro. If you notice, there's an arrow pointing to tell you where front is. And then it has
See. I'm just seeing a picture of this unit.
Yeah. Has a screen and a series of buttons. And the speaker is
I
designed to kind of let you know when the battery is low or whatever you configure it to tell you. Any alert that you want.
Okay.
So that will be what I was suggesting earlier. That would be the starting point.
Okay.
And then this device would do the mixing for you.
Okay.
So in that case, you would use a standard transmitter, standard everything, but the transmitter data would go directly into this, and then this would control the ESCs directly, or any stepper, or not stepper, servos, or anything of the sort.
Okay.
So that can be done, and what's nice about it, it's already open source. There's tons of stuff out there. It's just I don't think anybody's used it for boats. Not that I quickly Googled. So that'd be interesting. You'd be using an off-the-shelf component, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like it would
Oh, now
do
I
it.
see I see the arrow. I'm going arrow. What arrow is he
towards
talking
the top.
about? Yeah. Then I finally found it right up there at the top.
Traditionally, on a quadcopter, the additional I/Os are for GPSs and sorts, but you could repurpose them to whatever you want.
Yeah, GPS would come in handy for a boat.
Watch this, guys. You put your remote down, and the boat's doing the course by itself.
Yeah, you run the course one time and put in your waypoints.
Ooh, that would be cool.
And then
Well,
and then just
so in the quadcopter world, you can plug the controller into a piece of software, and you can actually give it waypoints to go into the sky. And then whatever GPIO pin you set, or pin, if you see this pin's high, then it automatically goes in autonomous mode. And you could also put a return home mode too. So you would have to put the boat somewhere flat so the GPS can do its thing, and then once it's done, set it as the home point, put it back in the water, do your thing, and then configure it that if it gets out of range for any particular reason, it'll sit there and wait X amount of seconds and then return. In the quadcopter world, it's the same thing. If you get out of range, it hovers, waits there, and then comes back home till it gets back into range. So all of that seems to be repurposed.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Arduino for the win.
Really.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, this is completely out of the box here. I don't think. I mean, I
don't
found
see a
both
reason why that
controllers.
wouldn't work either.
No, I don't. No, I don't at all. It's
Now, I've got a picture. Where do I get information on these?
Oh, okay. Hang on. Hobby King sells them. Let's see. So the one with the screen is $19.99.
Oh, hell. That's nice.
Let me throw this in here. I have a. Go ahead.
I was just wondering how much programming would even need to change
Not much.
between. Yeah, not much between.
Not much.
Well, not much between that, but I mean, like if they wanted to sell this as a turnkey solution, you bought the motors and you got this board with it. How much between boats would even have to change, if any?
Well, it depends. That's why I was asking, like, is there anything going to be radically different between them, like propulsion types and such? I mean, this could be the same exact thing I'm doing with Machine Kit for the farm. I'm including a bunch of profiles already in it. So, if a person is capable of editing the profile themselves, then yeah, and then it's at the devices of the person that's doing it. Or if you know you're going to have a set type of propulsion types, azipod, no azipod, thrusters, no thrusters, etc., then you can kind of do a loose, okay, this will get you in the ballpark of what you're trying to do, but you need to fine-tune it. That is absolutely 100% possible.
How many of these would be on a boat typically?
One.
Two or
Just
or
one.
Just one.
Just one.
Just
Yeah,
one.
just
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh heck.
Hey, if you want to do subsystems, you could do I2C between that and another Arduino Nano or something, and then have the Nano handle all the extra stuff, like, you know, like a smoke generator so it looks like there's smoke coming out of the stack and all types of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But-
M1, M2, M3.
So yeah, I mean, I really, really don't see why this could not be done, considering it is at the end of the day an Arduino. Oh, okay, it's an Atmel 6. Oh, okay, so it has more I/O pins than I thought. Memory's a little tight though, 64K, but I don't think it's gonna be crazy.
Atmel 64.
Have you looked at the code? What does the code look like?
I can look at it. This is like so not CNC stuff.
we lost not provided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 3 viewers though. 3
Yeah.
viewers.
So they're screaming at their screens or like, this is so cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
To everybody, we promise we'll get back on CNCs in a second. We got sidetracked.
This happens a lot.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Join us permanently and you'll find out.
Well, see, I'm looking at this, and it says altimeter or all ailerons, elevators, throttle, and rudder, and those are the 4 that I'd be using. You know, let's see, the throttle and rudder is usually on the left stick, and the ailerons and elevators are on the right stick. And so then, what is M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, 6, 7, and 8? Those are outputs.
Correct. Yes. So those are traditionally motor outputs. So the ESCs would go there, but they're just I/O pins, right? So in your case, you would probably have 2 ESCs. I'm assuming for 2 pods.
Right.
So that means M3 through 8 could be repurposed.
Okay, and so use M3 and M4
For the servos that are attached to M1 and M2.
for the servos.
Yeah.
Or the stepper motors, rather.
Steppers or servos?
Steppers.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and the reason for steppers is that I can put a homing.
You could do that with servos too. You would need some sort of not an end stop, but some point on the pulley or something that has either a magnet or something that can be seen by the AVR, so it knows.
Right.
Okay. And also, it would know what direction it was already traveling. So if it started to go counter, and then it hits it, and it needs to go back, then it's just not going to think, oh, well, I'm already there, or I can return back. That's all software stuff.
All right. Now, how do you go about programming this? Where do you plug in?
So this has an ISP header. So on the left-hand side of the board, you'll see 6 pins kind of off. Not off. Okay, so okay, you're looking.
Okay, I see the one that says in-system programming ISP header.
Yep, that's it.
Okay,
that's where you program it. There's some models that has the USB port directly on it, but I thought you were trying to keep the cost down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because we probably pre-configure these things.
Yeah. And you just use a little FTDI header on that, right?
Yeah, or another Arduino, and you're good to go. So. Yeah. And the nice thing about that too is that you could literally get an Arduino Nano and then basically put the profile on it. If you're going to be flashing a bunch of these, and then basically plug the Nano in, the Nano will pass the 3.3 volts to the KK board, power it, and then flash it, and then done.
Ah.
That's the more advanced stuff. So, there's nothing really to it on the back. Alright, so I downloaded the...
Oh, you can do stick scaling. Cool. Gyro, 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 acceleration, acceleration, acceleration. And gain, limit, gain, limit. Okay. I wish they did one where you're looking through the board, you know, at the edge of it, so you could see how much room you've got for the pins, you know, for building a case around this thing, for keeping it dry. Interesting.
Cool stuff, though.
Yeah, it is. I assume that I'd have to, you know, if I used, all right, let's say if I used M1 for port throttle and M2 for port stepper motor, and then M3 for starboard throttle and M4 for starboard stepper motor, that I'd have to come off of those 3 pins and go to a stepper driver of some.
Well, you would really be using 1 pin. Well, it depends, right? Because it's ground, voltage, and then signal. So it just depends how you have it set up. So in theory, you'd only be using 1 of those pins.
Okay.
Because traditional servos, as you know, it has whatever the voltage that the board's running at, ground, and then the sense wire or signal wire.
Right. Well, and steppers have got step and direction.
Well, the stepper drivers do, yeah.
Stepper drivers, yeah. So, okay.
So when I asked the question about how many would be on a boat, I meant the motors themselves. There could be 2 typically, I would imagine, but I would imagine on bigger boats you could have more than 2.
All right. They have ASDs which are azimuthing stern drives. So there's a pair of drives in the back of the vessel that do all the stuff. All right. And then they have tractor tugs where they move the drives forward. All right. They're in the forward part of the boat. And so they're pulling the boat around, all right? And now they've got what they call ROROs, and they put 2 drives in the bow, and then they put a 3rd in the stern, so it has 3 Z drives on it. And those things are, yeah, they're awesome. They can really do some some shaking and baking
I'll bet.
when the time comes. But so, all right.
Just thinking about profiles that are required. That's all I was thinking about.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's get
That
back
sounds like a
to
fun project. Yeah. You didn't happen to see any of the
artistically-
videos that Eve's posted, the CNC porn he was posting and torturing us?
Who's that?
He's had some CNC porn he posted to the forum, to our normal chat window.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. You could post that in here too. That was
Okay.
Lots of chip shooting.
There he is.
delightful.
Yeah,
Oh,
when you were asking the horsepower for the spindle, I have no
Yeah.
idea. It would be a lot. So when you look at the description of the machine, it would say horsepower, a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's probably upwards of, maybe 50 horsepower or something, I'd imagine.
Probably. I mean, it was no pitch change. None.
No, none. And it was making a little over a quarter-inch cut.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because it's like it's going through, and all of a sudden you just see like a rainfall of just chips flying wherever the left side of the freaking cutter was going. It was just
Yeah, that chip
unbelievable.
mode was perfectly calculated for that.
Okay.
But, yeah. That's
Well,
what I
that the other link I sent after that one, it was actually the video right after yours. I think the tool length was like I don't know, over an inch, maybe an inch and a half, and he bores a hole in the center of this thing, and it's just chip. I'd never seen chips fly like that. It's absolutely crazy. His depth of cut wasn't as high as it was on that one though.
Is that one where you said, "Good God, the shavings"?
Yeah, that was the second one I posted. Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So Tyler, the other guy, that's a friend of mine that's in the group, works for a company in Minneapolis that basically does toolpath optimization for. It sounds like most of like defense contractors. They do crazy toolpath optimization though, and simulation. Some of the simulations take, days.
Holy cow!
Yeah, they do some crazy stuff.
Like a 1.5 inch depth of cut. I have to assume that's aluminum.
Look at the color of the chips.
Oh, yeah, you can't see them; they're going by too fast.
Which video are you looking at?
If you're talking about
the
the first
second one.
Oh, okay.
Second
The first
one.
one is steel, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one was steel.
And it's just treating it like it was like some sort of silly putty or something.
Oh yeah, that T408 helical. Holy criminy!
It's ridiculous.
What does a tool like that run?
Oh.
All those inserts. Oof.
Half of your annual income.
Oh, look at those chips. Just raining.
Yeah, I've seen them where you could hear them bouncing off of the enclosure.
Oh yeah.
You know, and-
There's a
and-
hot and popcorn's going off inside the machine.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a machine gun, for Pete's sakes. Yeah.
That's awesome. But the funny thing about that is, let's say Haas or somebody says, okay, yeah, we'll give you one for free. Imagine what the power usage or your power bill would look like after like an hour using that thing.
Oh right. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
223. Well, no, some of those are probably not even 220 anymore, right?
Yeah, they're probably
Could be-
480 or multiple, inline.
Yeah.
It would be ridiculous.
Could be, yeah.
yeah, and they're they start at 25 horsepower, and move up from there.
Just having the ability to cut anything
Yeah.
with a nice depth of cut.
Yes.
And no chatter.
And
Yeah.
no chatter, yeah. That's all we ask. It's not hard, right?
So do either of you guys follow tactical keychains?
No, I don't.
Okay. So
I
this
have,
is the
yeah,
guy.
I can follow him, yeah.
Okay, so this is a guy who works out of his home, and he makes keychains, knives, etc., etc., etc. And he just recently got this device called a Robo Drill, which I had to Google. This thing is ridiculous. It has like this turret style like tool changer that it's in line with the spindle, and the tool changers are like less than a second. It was ridiculous. And he has this in his garage.
Wow.
With a Tormach, 2 different types of lathes. It's ridiculous. But he does this. That's his business, of course, right?
He's making money
kind
off
of like
it.
he's kind of like the NYC CNC guy then.
Yeah, but he has a kind of like the standard Tormach though. He doesn't even have the fancy schmancy Tormach.
Oh, he doesn't have an ATC on it?
He does, but he doesn't use it, which is kind of weird. He doesn't say anything about it.
Oh.
I tell you, that Tormach lathe stuff is absolutely wonderful.
Oh, the Slant 6, that thing is awesome.
Oh, the Slant, yeah. Until you look at the price of them.
Yeah, I know. That's the deterring factor of all of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's really like you obviously need to have a business of some kind, and
yeah.
So you can't really. Yeah. And it's funny when you try to look at like maybe prosumer-ish, it's still kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I mean, at some point, maybe seriously, I would like to get not a serious mill of some sort, but something better than what I have now. But that's below the 770. That's below. I mean, it's like right in the Grizzly conversion category, where you get the Grizzly G504 or whatever it is, and convert that to a CNC. I mean, that could definitely do aluminum, not at the depths of cuts that we saw in the videos today, but still, it's purpose-built to handle that, at least type of medium, at least.
Sure.
Flood coolant and the whole works, but...
Oh, yeah.
But one day, a proper lathe of some sort, because there's been like 5 instances this year alone where I could have used one, and then a proper mill of some sort. I mean, even if it's not CNC out of the gate and I can convert it later, that's fine.
I just saw the picture you were talking about, Eves with the mask on.
Yeah, MDF, man, you don't mess with it.
Copy, like
200 meters.
So, he's reading the specs. So, John, how far is your x-carve?
As soon as I get my
the spindle mount,
I should be good to go. Yeah, next week. I hope I'll have 4 of them. Yeah.
People have spoken.
So, they have. They want them. So I'll have 4. 1 for me, 1 for Andrew. He said he wanted one, so he did the original design on it. So yeah, I don't know what he's going to charge to make them, but it ain't going to be much. So.
Shoot.
Cool.
He's only doing a 1/2 inch depth of cut up to about 60% width of cut on a, looks like about a 2-inch inserted face mill. Gee whiz.
What are you saying, that's nothing?
Well.
I know what my Shapeoka would do with it.
It would laugh and cry and then home itself.
Well, it's interesting. Some of the chips that have landed on top that you can see are bright blue. I mean, they are hot.
But okay, those manufacturer videos, everything is dialed in, right?
Oh
yeah, everything is dialed in. That's like, I'm not saying you would have to have that exact machine to get that type of performance, but I'm sure
it would help.
All the engineers know everything about that machine and contacted the manufacturer of the machine's engineers, and that thing has been dialed in.
I posted the other video in there, Dave.
What's that?
I posted another video in there. It's the Veromill one that it's kind of cool for about the first, I don't know, minute, and it gets repetitive, and then if you jump to 4 minutes, it's boring a hole. But I just like the fact that tool is, I don't know, it's got to be 2 inches.
Yeah. I'm looking at the one that Tony posted right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I tried to find the prices on that tool, and all I have is like
half your annual income. Hey, that thing's only 32 millimeters in diameter.
Wow.
That's only a little over an inch and a half.
It's funny, and I know John has seen these like 6-axis machines that with the wrappings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Ridiculous.
Or the head moves all over the place.
Yeah, and it's like the material's not even there.
Yeah.
It's like it's air cutting.
You've seen the one where they do the skull, right? On that 5-axis? Yeah, that's unbelievable.
I think the
Oh,
coolest
wasn't
one
the
I've
skull.
seen to date.
It was the helmet. I think it wasn't the skull. I think it was the helmet.
Beat me to it.
Helmet,
I was just about to say that. The helmet.
Yeah, that helmet was... I'd like to know how long it'd take him to generate tool paths for that.
How long did the ops take? Like a day? 2 days? Seriously. I mean, there must have been at least a couple hundred tool changes in that video alone.
Oh.
So
I saw one where they machined a complete crankshaft out of a solid forging that was close to a foot and a half or more in diameter when it started. I mean, just
ridiculous. A couple months back, I was watching Speed Channel, and they were doing this thing on. I don't know much about NASCAR, but I think it was. He owns a dealership, and I think they all do. But inside the machine shop of this NASCAR team, they have like an entire like Home Depot-sized room of just filled with Haas machines.
Oh yeah.
They're fabricating the engine completely. And literally, it starts off with a block of aluminum. It goes through one machine. The machine does 10 to 20 ops, and literally, there's a robot that grabs the part, puts it on a conveyor, and the conveyor moves it to the next machine, and then it does another 15 ops, and it keeps going and going and going. It's ridiculous.
So it's a Tony Stark lab.
Pretty much. You could probably make an Iron Man suit with that. It would weigh a freaking metric ton, but yeah, you probably could.
Yeah. And the interesting part is they start with a block of aluminum that weighs 600 pounds, and when they finish up the engine block, it weighs like 30 pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy. So here's a good question. So let's say I do have a fancy schmancy machine shop, and I have all these machines, and I'm generating a lot of chips. Can you resell the chips back? Or how does it work?
There are services,
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the value of the chips?
Depends on the scrap metal market at the time.
Basically.
So,
like, let's say titanium.
I don't know just off the top of my head.
I'm curious to know if the chip cost is. I know it's not going to be 1-to-1 to what you paid for the material, but I'm curious to know what that percentage is.
I don't know. It's probably less than 50%.
I would assume.
I would guess.
Because I'm sure the company that's picking it up is taking a percentage out and all that stuff. Because I see these guys, like for example, NYCNC, Tactical Keychains. There's another guy that does knives, and they show like these 50-gallon drums of just chips.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with it? They never really talk about that.
They're recycling it. They're taking it to the scrapyard and running over the scales and dumping their buckets wherever and running back over the scales and getting paid for it.
Yeah, wow. It's funny. About 6 or 7 months ago, one of my wife's friends came over, and I was planing poplar. And the planer, it makes these long, kind of stringy chips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of saw, a little plump of it on the floor. She goes, "Oh, were you doing the little fillers for boxes and such?" And I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And she was telling me that, like, when you buy like wine, and if they come in these small boxes, they actually put this similar type of wood chips inside the box as like a safety measure.
Oh yeah, packing. Yeah, okay.
Packing. So I'm like, huh.
Especially if you did it from like cedar, you might get some cedar chips like that. It'd be kind of fun.
You ought to get a hold of your local winery and see if they need a supply of chips.
Well, they have barrels, and they do other stuff with that, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But that'd be interesting. I mean, I didn't think wood chips would be worth anything, but...
Yeah.
We used to have, like, wood burning stove or something.
We had chickens, and we used to go buy bales of wood chips for bedding for them at the feed market, at the feed store. So we just deviated off the CNC again.
No, it's chips.
Okay,
Something has to generate those chips, so
yeah.
we're not too far off the path.
Yeah.
So what was Andrew doing today?
He's in Alabama.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's at an install of some kind.
Yeah. He was stuck.
No, stuck in a good way. I've been in that very same position where you were dispatched out, you were told X days, and you look at the job and you go, hell no. You contact HR and you tell them this is not going to happen in 3 days, and they have to renegotiate how long you're going to be there, and you're in a holding pattern. I know exactly what he's going through.
Yeah.
But it works out for him because
Yeah.
additional overtime. Well, I don't know if it's overtime for him, but I'm sure there's travel pay.
Per diem.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So he seemed excited about that. So good for him. Good for him.
Needs to pay off his electric the wire that he bought.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Completely different. I was doing a network operation install, and we had these 2 large APCs, and we needed just a short run to go from one rack through the floor out to the other side, and it looked like a standard gauge wire. So I go to the local big box store, and I look, and it was like almost $320 for like 10 feet of this. It was ridiculous. Now, of course, the company credit card came out with the quickness, but still, that's crazy.
Wow.
I don't deal anything with like home electric stuff, but that's pretty cray-cray. I mean, what's in there? Like, is it solid gold or gold plated? I mean, I know the wire we got was Kevlar coated, or not Kevlar coated, but it had a Kevlar jacket on it. But what the hell?
That could be expensive.
Yeah, like plenum per foot, and I know I just jumped right off the CNC train again. Plenum is expensive because it's fireproof stuff.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I can understand that, but oof. Anyway, crazy. But yeah, I think he finished his shop, and he was cutting stuff. He made a wallet. I don't know if he showed you guys the picture.
Yeah.
That was
I didn't see the
cool
wallet.
stuff.
No, I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like a one-piece design, and you slide credit cards in it. And he made a position where you can like fold money and slide it in. It's pretty cool.
Huh.
Pretty cool. I mean, that would look really neat in like some sort of anodized aluminum for sure.
I saw a Kickstarter where outfit was doing wallets in paracord.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, that paracord stuff is not that hard. I was watching somebody's kid do it. If you have patience, I guess, you could do it, but it's not that hard. And the stuff is cheap. You can go to Michael's and get a couple 100 feet of that stuff. Pretty inexpensive in these crazy, crazy colors.
Yeah.
Just time and patience to do all that.
Yeah, really. It's kind of like machining, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Eves, you were gonna. Hell, although Andrew's not here either, but I suppose we could wait until next week to talk about the website.
Yeah, what I wanted to do with that is put more content, like load it up so it looks like it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
And then
Which-
announce it to
You
the
lost me
audience.
there. Lost me there.
Yeah,
I will
it's
post a link.
it's a secret.
Oh. You're
Right.
going to have to kill me now?
No.
Yeah.
The URL's kind of wrong. I mean, it works, but the name is going to change.
I thought you changed the DNS on that.
Yeah, I did, but then I thought about it, and then I just defaulted it back. I need to come up with a witty-ass name. Somewhere where I could put the name of it in the title, so it would be CNC Enthusiasts Anonymous. I wanted to get a .us, so I can get the anonym.us.
Oh, Yeah.
I was trying to be witty with it. But
CNC Enthusiast Anonymous.
so the whole idea was for us to park our projects in one location. We have our own little wiki, so when we're talking stuff, it's not forever held into the Google chat and have to scroll back like 3 weeks to find something that Andrew or John or somebody else has said. So it'll be a more central location for this stuff, and plus it's like our own little personal build log that other people can look at.
Yep.
So it's fully functional. I made a bunch of sections, but there's really nothing there. I think John made a splash page for himself.
Yep. I need to go
So did Andrew, but I don't think he published it. Mine, I did
that. I was going to do something very funny for him.
Oh, he kind of thought you were going to do that, but when he looked at it, there was nothing in it.
No, I
I
started
enabled
to, and I got
two-factor.
distracted.
What was that?
I started to, but I got distracted.
Oh, okay. I enabled two-factor on the server, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
So if you so incline, you can enable that. But yeah, the whole point was just to park our crap there, and it's not crap, just saying stuff.
Yeah.
So that way, you know, if you want to share whatever you're doing, it'll be a handy dandy URL that you could just dump with whatever projects. It doesn't have to be. Good.
The wiki will be handy.
Yes, the
Well,
wiki.
how does one sign up for it?
Hang on. Oh, I had to hide the freaking logon page because the first day this site was active, I got like 20 signups, all from Vietnam. All of them. So I figured, okay, I'll just block Yahoo.com. Then they started doing other email services. And I thought, fine, I'll just blacklist this IP address, and they would just change it. So I just turned off login altogether.
Ah.
So give me, you know, I'll wait till I get
countries too.
Well, I see login here.
Yeah, but it's broken. I purposely disabled it.
Okay.
But it should show you a funny, not funny, but a cool like machinist page, and then the CNC thing. But it won't let you create an account. They'll let you log in if you already have an account, but it won't let you create an account. I'll send you a super secret link so you can do your thing. But anyway, the whole purpose, once again, was just for us to kind of park our projects and, you know, do whatever you want. And like I said, there's a couple subsections in the topics, but there could be more. There's no limit or anything. And then for Wiki, I already started
CAD CAM
and stuff like that. And there's a gallery, so you can post your own photos and stuff like that.
topics.
But
one has to be a registered member in order to.
correct. Which when I get back in the house, I'll do that. Once again, I turned it off because we got spam.
Inundated, yeah.
Yeah.
An annoyance or an honor. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I changed up the logo. I don't know if you noticed, John. It doesn't look so not eBay, but I don't know. GeoCities is what I was looking for. It's much cleaner than it was before.
All right.
But yeah, it's there.
Let's see. You probably need my email address then, don't you?
No. I'll send you a link in the normal chat when I get done here.
Oh, you're not worried about that one being open to the public?
No, it'll be a one-time thing. Well, then I'll know who it is because that means it was somebody inside our normal chat.
Yeah.
So I hope that happens so I can figure that out and then K-ban them, kick-ban.
You could just, well, our IP's changed though, probably, so.
No. Yeah, like I said, it's just a website. It's not NSA secret, so. I mean, the two factors is a convenience for me because I use it for everything, so. I added it mostly for me, but you don't have to use it if you don't care. But yeah, I think the wiki, like you said, that'll be awesome because, like I said, I put a bunch of stuff in there: Linux CNC stuff, speeds and feeds, and all types of microcontrollers, 3D printing, Arduino stuff. You have your own little subsection. I have my own little subsection. John will have his subsection, and Dave or anybody else that's in the Dave and Tony. If you guys want to do your own little thing, you can. I think it'd be cool. Just our own little home on the internet.
Well,
that's gonna be.
And it's just CNC. It's not necessarily x-carve dominant.
Yeah, that's why it's called CNC Enthusiasts.
Right. So if I
I mean,
put stuff
majority-
that I'm building with my 770, it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's a. I don't know, I really don't care what the brand is. I guess this is a Chevy versus Ford type conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
I really don't care. If it makes chips and you're happy with it, then that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
But yep,
Yeah.
that's there.
So I can't even re-log into the page, right? Right now.
Yeah, you can. Just scroll to the bottom and click on login.
It
And then
comes
put
up
in your
with that
credentials.
nice, pretty login window page.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is this Hobby King a reliable source?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a well-known vendor in the RC world.
And
Well,
are they
known.
U.S. based or China
Oh, yeah.
based?
No, U.S.
Okay.
Well, they may get components from China, but
Yeah, well, I'm sure these multi-rotor control boards are Chinese built.
I don't really know. I mean,
And look at the price, and that right there reeks of Chinese built.
They are pretty common though.
yeah,
For years and years.
yeah. And like I said, I don't want to say bottom of the bucket. That's probably the worst term to say. In the price range of those controllers, that is like towards the bottom and not in quality, just feature set. Because you can get more stuff like GPS and all types of craziness where the price will go easily into the $30 and $40 range per unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, let's just start with the basics. Let's get it to work first.
Right.
And the software is forwardable to other controllers because it's basically the same heart, so to speak. It's the same microcontroller that's in it.
Yeah, and they
The
do
only difference
PayPal.
is-
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things where if you buy a one-off and it works and you're happy with it, and then you plan on, doing more of these, I'm sure you can find a vendor that'll sell you at bulk,
Right.
where it's cheaper per unit.
Okay.
So look, and Allied Express, I've used them a couple of times, only for like small widgets that I need a bunch of, but I end up with like 150 plus of the 20 I needed, but at a really good price. But yeah, that'll work out, I think. The more I was thinking about that whole thing you described, the more I think it's possible with that controller.
Okay. When I see it's the firmware. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Sorry?
The firmware version 1.6 is pre-installed for dual quad, tri-quad, Y6 quad.
So
Quad,
basically,
quad,
those
quad.
are different types of platforms. So you have quadcopters, then you have tricopters, and then you have octocopters and stuff like that.
Right.
So it would be crazy because if this works out and we fork this as a boat controller, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I'm sure.
I'm assuming we'd have to change the firmware, though, right?
No. I would change enough to make it work, but I would have to give rights to the original author because I didn't write it completely. I'm just modifying what's already there. So I'm giving credit where credit's due. I mean, it's open source, so
Okay.
whatever. I mean, it's the same thing I'm doing with the farm. I mean, I'm using Machine Kit. I didn't write it, but I kind of had to heavily modify it because I was disappointed in how it was set up. But otherwise,
Okay.
which at some point I need to talk to Charles. I think his name is the Machine Kit guy.
Yeah.
And ask him what the deuce.
Yeah.
What the hell
Yeah.
was? It's
That's
like
What was he thinking, huh?
no. It almost seems like whoever did the image was not a Linux person. They kind of did what they needed to do to get it to work. Is how it feels to me. It works, but there's like a lot of dependencies that were kind of missing. And I figured, oh well, maybe they stripped it down for the BeagleBone Black, but the BeagleBone Black has 4 gigs of storage, right? If it was the other one, which is the BeagleBone White, which had 2 gigs, I could kind of sort of understand, unless that's where it was from. Maybe it was originally designed for that, and they never left that boundary. But Anyway, the image I'm making will have a lot of stuff active and enabled. Like, for example, a rock hopper, which I have no idea why that person picked that name, but is by far the best tool ever for Linux CNC. By far. I found a machine kit or machine face image which will allow you to run, basically, instead of running X or remote X onto a machine, you could control the unit completely from basically an application that runs in Windows, Mac, Linux, your phone, your tablet, whatever. Completely control the machine, as in like load a job, jog it around, touch off, everything.
Wow, and it works faster than like the X stuff? Remote X
the same
works pretty
speed.
well, but...
Yeah, same speed. It's just the convenience of not having to do that, because that takes a little bit of command line ninjery to work.
Yep.
Well, okay, to you and I, that's not command line ninjery, but I mean, if I were to try to explain that to like my sister-in-law, she would just tell me to go F myself.
X quartz? What?
Yeah, I mean, because you have to change your path and da-da-da-da, and you have to change your bash.rc and da-da-da-da. This is just simpler. Because it's already done at the image, right? You're just pointing an application to it.
I don't think if I go into X quartz into a telnet session from within X quartz, just telnet, or bring up a terminal window, I mean, not telnet, and then SSH from that terminal window within X quartz over to my black, the display environment's already set automatically when I telnet over, so I don't really have to. Although what I do notice sometimes is that if an app crashes, it loses the display variable.
Yes. Yes. I found that out the hard way too. Now, the funny thing in OS X, for me, for some reason, none of the Xterm stuff was configured. None of it. So it didn't work out of the gate for me at all. So I had to change stuff to get it to work. Now, when I tested from a Windows VM, there is a Windows app that you can install that kind of handles all that crap for you. So as far as you're concerned, it's like opening a remote desktop, right? It treats it like that. So the Windows guys, ironically, have it easier than the BSD/Linux guys because there's a bunch of stuff you have to do. Yes, on the machine kit side, that side is already configured.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about on the side that's sending the command to tell the BeagleBone Black to display here versus local. That was not configured for me already. I had to do stuff.
Oh, wow.
The machine face stuff is literally, it's like a standard application you run on your machine. You're not stealing a session in a sense where if that session dies, you're screwed. It's still running it on the other end, but think of it as like a web page interface, but more a richer environment, so to speak.
Yeah.
The toolpath viewer works. Everything that you see in Machine Kit, or Linux CNC rather, is there. Plus some. I mean, this guy added a bunch of stuff for 3D printers in there too.
Wow.
So, and it has webcam capability built in also.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And it was already done. I found it on a mistake trying to find a solution for a problem. Somebody mentioned machine face.
Integrating.
So, yeah, and I installed it, and it works pretty damn good. The fact that it has an iOS and Android app, that was kind of a selling point for me, because that literally means that, like, you could, from your phone, check the status of the machine, like how far it's... So, push notifications, that's not included, but I'm sure I could do a pushover trick to do that. But
well, you kind of already figured out how to do that.
Pushover?
No, the push notification stuff, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm using M codes to do it though. But John, the fact that you could stick a frickin' Python script as an M code is mind blowing.
Well, it's also the possibilities become endless.
Basically, I mean, you could literally write an entire app to get triggered by an M code. Like, I don't know, anything, literally.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, when I was thinking about doing it, I was like, how the hell am I going to do that? And then somebody in the Linux CNC chat room said, oh, maybe you should look at M codes. And I looked at it in the wiki. And just to rewind a second, I think the reason why a lot of people don't want to screw around with Linux CNC, and I was kind of in this boat probably like 5 months ago, it's not like I have no Linux experience. It just looks complicated as hell. It's not like approachable whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, and plus, like, if stuff breaks, it's very, very complex to, like, even assess the problem. But like for example, you launch Linux CNC and it crashes. Well, yeah, it gives you that dialog box, but then when you look at the debugging message, if you really don't know what you're looking at, you're kind of screwed. You just cut and paste that variable, go to Google, see if somebody's talked about it, and then go from there.
Been there, done that.
So I think that's the biggest fear. But once you get it up and running, holy crap! I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do.
It just runs.
Yeah, it's beyond just runs. It's just. I've never used like the more expensive motion controllers like in a Haas or anything like that. I'm assuming it's similar to this. Like, here's a quick example, and I know Dave is going to laugh because he already knows this, but this is news to me. I was a G92 guy, okay? I know that's bad, but I didn't know any better. So when Linux CNC was kind of throwing fits at me when I was doing G92, which is basically forcing it that this is your current home position, it kept ignoring it because it prefers G54. And now that I understand what G54
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yes. Fixturing and all that stuff is so awesome. It is like, not to coin a retarded term, but the best thing since sliced bread, right? I mean, the fact that I could touch off a point, I could tell it, okay, this is X, Y, this is Z, but this is where the fixture is, and this is over here, and this is over here, and then I can quickly go to those points. That's so awesome. I'm sure it could do more than that, but that's what I've basically been using it for. So if I have a double-sided op, home at dead center, I tell it that's that, and then if I have another section where there's a fixture or clamp, I can tell it that's that, or if I have a probe over here, I can tell it that that's that, and then I can quickly point and tell it to go to those things. Now, the MDI and Linux CNC, I wish there was a better way to handle that, because there's really no buttons per se. You could just go through your history of stuff that you already typed in. But they need to improve it to make it like, instead of that nerdy guy that kind of has the suspenders, they kind of need to make him look a little cooler. You know what I mean? It's just, I love the technical aspect of Linux CNC, but there's so much crap they could do to make it more appeasing.
Well, I mean, yeah, look what Tormach did.
Yeah.
I
I've
mean,
tried hard to find that path pilot anywhere.
Dave.
I knew that was coming.
Dave.
yeah.
As
Got
far
the
as-
CD.
It's basically a plugin. I mean, it should technically work with Linux.
I can't imagine there's anything that would prevent us from running that.
Yeah.
No.
The conversational stuff is pretty awesome.
They're starting to crack it. There's several guys on the Tormach forum on CNC Zone that have started cracking it.
Define cracking it.
Well,
Because I don't think there would be that much to crack, because the way Linux CNC is that when you create a profile, it sticks it in a folder, and in that folder it has the GUI and everything in it. So it's just a matter of figuring out what's in the INI, and then copying that, and then remove all the Mesa stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's also a bunch of, I mean, there could be a bunch of ancillary files associated with it. I don't know if that Jimbo Campy interface was a perfect example. You know,
do you like that interface, by the way?
I kind of do. You know,
I don't like it at all.
I kind of do. You know what I liked about it was it had all the like touch probe stuff. Worked really well with it.
Yeah.
I liked it because I have a touchscreen. I mean, I've got a 10-inch Elo touchscreen monitor here, and it works really well with that.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, you're right. It is feature rich, but it's just too cumbersome. Like when I first launched it, I was like, Jesus, what? I mean, it's like buttons everywhere, right? And it's just like,
well,
okay.
that's sort of the thing. It's designed to be. I mean, if you ever walk up to like a Haas or something like that,
yeah.
I mean, there's buttons on that freaking screen everywhere.
It's funny because I want the like axes. I like that GUI with just like maybe 3 or 4 more buttons. That's it.
Didn't you look at adding those to that? I don't think it's that hard.
Yes, it is. It is. Because you need Glade. Have you messed around with Glade? Okay.
I haven't. No.
I opened it, looked at the code, and then closed the window. Because I thought maybe, okay, well, this button is pulling this, so I can cut and pick. No, that's not how it and I don't want to freaking redesign the GUI, but I just kind of wanted to just. And Axes is the most complex and apparently the hardest version or type of GUI for Linux CNC to convert. Apparently, it's easier to do it with like what is it, low graphic, low graphic, and I think the subset is mini, and there's two other ones that are really easy. But Axes and there's this other one that's on there. It's almost I don't want to say it's impossible because it's been done, but you kind of have to already kind of be a pretty avid Python programmer to really tackle that. And Python is not my forte.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Python fan.
I mean, apparently I know enough to get freaking push notifications to work, but not enough to redesign the GUI. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
I said Python. That's a snake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well be.
Yeah. The really big ones eat people.
Yes. But yeah, I'm totally on the Linux CNC bus wagon, insert vehicle, whatever.
So Tyler, I know you're listening. Linux CNC. Buy Shapeoko. No, buy an x-carve. Spend another $1,000 upgrading it.
1,000? Really?
Well, I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Okay. So
You go from Shapeoko to an x-carve, plus all the extra parts, and a spindle motor, and
yeah.
so
probably.
He's not an x-carve owner yet.
Not yet. I know he was asking me what I have. I know he wants one, and he's involved with it for the work that he's doing, and he's going to school for mechanical engineering at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So
Has he been on the forum?
No, he's not. He's not.
Okay, well,
I keep it that way. No offense.
Yeah. Yeah, don't go on the Inventables forum.
Yeah, steering towards the Inventable forum and my build thread.
Yeah. If you want the truth.
Well, okay. I mean, obviously we all bought something from them, Shapokos or x-carves or whatever. I have no animosity towards the company. They've done their job. Everything is working. Everything's fine. But the thing that kind of annoys the crap out of me a little bit about the forums is the misinformation that's tossed around.
You think?
It's just like, well, it works for me. This is the way it should be done. That type of mentality. And then when you I don't even really pipe up. I just kind of say, maybe you should do this. It's like, no, I am an insert specialist in certain field for insert years. This is the way it should be done. And then that's when I just close the window and watch TV for about an hour. But I really don't have time for that. If I'm trying to share information with you, I'm not trying to beat it on your head. I'm just trying to share information with you. But anyway. So we might as well put something informative in this entire ordeal. So said person wants to buy an x-carve, right? So what is the cheapest configuration you could get?
A 500 with standard everything.
That's
and that includes steppers?
What's that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, 17.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Inventables.
That's exactly what I got. It was just under $1,000 ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With NEMA 17s?
Yes, I.
Wow. Living life on the edge.
Literally.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's see. Oh, 3D carvers. I haven't gone to this site in a while. 3D carvers. Let's see. Configure yours today. All right. So upgrade kit. Not doing that. So basic kit. 800. So that includes 500mm everything. I don't even know why they bother with the lead screw or the threaded rod, to be very honest. But okay. Wasteboard. Okay, yes. NEMA 60-ounce NEMA 17s. Okay. And then the spindle comes with a 300-watt 24. And then the controller and power supply. And then the wiring and a drag chain. Oh, no drag chain. No limit switches. No tool. Oh, it comes with a toolkit. No hold downs. Okay. All right. So the machine, which will give you 500 by 500, and then I would almost say go ahead and do the lead screw upgrade, even if you don't go through them. There's a guy named Improbable Construct who used to be a heavy supporter for Shapoko stuff, but now he's with Carbide, which is where the Shapoko guy, Edward Ford, has moved to. He sells, and what I have installed is a 3/8-inch Acme screw. I would 100% recommend upgrading to that. And then there's an anti-backlash Delrin nut that I would suggest, and I will put a link in, which is like an $8 part. And
that's from Open Build, isn't it?
Hmm?
That adjustable Delrin nut is from Open Build, isn't it?
Yes, it's from Open Builders.
Yeah. I saw that.
I like it. It works a lot. I mean, I didn't really have a backlash issue before, but because I got one for my 3D printer, which I need to rebuild the bed for, and I figured it was cheap enough, so I installed it on the Oko anyway.
Yeah.
Steppers. So you can get 150 for 4. That seems a bit pricey.
Yeah, you can get steppers cheaper on eBay.
So I would almost say none to that. So it drops it to $7.19. Okay. So they sell the DeWalt spindle for
suggested retail.
That's weird because when you say none, it goes up $35. They sell the DeWalt for $35. There's no way.
No.
That's weird because if you go from none to the DeWalt, it only goes up by $35. Okay.
That's weird.
I'll skip that. And if you're doing basic stuff, the Arduino G Shield, I know Dave's about to groan. It's fine. I have no issues with Gerbil or Tiny G. It was limiting what I was attempting to do at the time. And that was a 4th axis and a bunch of other stuff. Drag chains, you could totally get that cheaper elsewhere. Limit switches, I would almost suggest inductive, but mechanical is fine if you're just starting out.
It's easy.
They are not limit switches, they are homing switches. Reference.
Pointless.
See, now, I would almost
Not with
argue
Linux
that...
CNC.
Huh?
With Linux CNC, they're not pointless.
No.
No, but I would almost argue that whole statement. I question what version of Gerbil Inventables is pimping out. Because when I compiled it for myself for the laser, it is 100% limit switches. Like, it actually, if you try to push the gantry too far and it hit it, it totally pulled an e-stop. So I think that's a software thing. And like I said, I have no idea what they're incorporating or what they've included special in their version. Because they provide an Arduino Uno with it already flashed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just set up as homing switches, though. That's all. There's
But you could change that in the software. You could change that. So, whatever.
The difficulty they've got is they provide just a twisted pair of wiring for the homing switches. And when you go to full limit switch, that noisy spindle throws all kinds of garbage on those wires and causes all kinds of problems.
Yeah, but you could do some tricks with ferrites, which
or shielded wire.
Okay, I'm just doing baseline. Somebody's starting out.
Sure.
Nothing crazy. I mean, limit switches are handy, especially if you're just starting out. Because if you tell it,
baseline would be as it ships.
Well, I mean, but he's going to change the steppers because you can get them definitely cheaper than 150 for 4. I can tell you that right now, and more beefy too, almost in the 200 zone. I'm gonna look that up in like a second here. I'm just kind of looking around. Power supply. What is it? 24 by 400 watts, and it has its own little plate. It looks like. Oh, spindle on off.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Fancy schmancy.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's... But if you go with a DeWalt or any other DC spindle... Okay, a DC spindle would use that, a DeWalt would not. It would just be on-off.
All right, and when you were in the DeWalt and when you were in spindle category...
Yeah.
All right, note that those are DeWalt spindle mounts.
Oh, learn to read, Eves.
Not.
I just saw the 611 and I kept switching between.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mount.
It's just a mount. You gotta source the DeWalt yourself.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, that's
Which is a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's look up some steppers. The NEMA 23s.
Now, one of the things you are getting with your stepper motors is all the pulleys or sprockets that go on the 4 motors. So if you go to none, you have to source those.
Yeah, that's true.
The
So-
GT2s.
And you have to make sure the bore is correct, as I learned.
What's that?
Well, depending on the type
Bore.
of NEMA, yeah, depending on the type of NEMA 23s. If you go with the crazy 400 plus, they're 10 mil, and the standard ones are 5. So
I've got quarter inches. My 280s are quarter inch
Yeah, so are mine.
with a milled flat on the shaft.
yeah.
So,
Wow. 1,025 ounce inch.
NEMA 23s?
What was that?
NEMA 23s?
Yeah.
Wow.
the other
Well,
thing
so-
you got to watch out for, the Z-axis NEMA 23 is limited in its length. So
You talking about the Acme screw?
No, the physical length of the NEMA 23 motor. So if you get too big a
Oh, the positioning is different, isn't it?
Well, it's upside
Yeah.
down and it points towards the center carriage, but you could always just get a longer, you could increase. That's what I did. My Z maker slide is,
well, the
Hey, Dave, I think you need to plug in your headphones there. Mickey
What's
Mouse
that?
now. I think
oh,
you need to plug in your headphones.
I just charged them up today.
I don't know.
I'll plug them in though.
So I'm looking at it. Can't you just flip it upwards?
Yeah, with some standoffs.
Okay. Yeah, because that's how the Shapokos were. They were upwards and
Yeah.
had short standoffs.
Well,
Yeah,
as it
completely.
is,
I can't hear you.
I mean, my maker slide on Z is 11 inches, and I could put a motor on there that was 5 inches long easily.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
flip it over.
Yeah.
No, even upside down. My motor on mine could be 5 inches long.
Oh, because you raised the maker slide. Okay.
Well, I put a longer maker slide in there. My maker slide's
Right.
12 inches long now, or 11.
Right.
Yeah. And that's an easy mod to do. You need a longer threaded rod in there. but-
So, and one other, I guess, statement, I guess it's a question more than a statement. In theory, you can go with a slightly, and I say weaker, but slightly weaker stepper for Z, correct?
Yeah, the 17 would work.
Well, I'm just a short, because they have shorty NEMA 23s that are like 269 ounce inch.
The NEMA 23s that they're selling are 140 ounce.
Yeah. So
Four
these are
140s.
269 ounce inch. I'm trying to look at the. Of course, no dimensions. Lovely. It looks like the ones I have, but. Oh, yes, it says you purchased this item. Haha. Give me a second. So they're about 3 inches.
Yeah.
Your motors, yeah.
Yeah, they're 3 inches. But the ones I have on X and Y are just over 3.5.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was the screw down was slightly different on these. I had to modify the end plates to get them to work. All right, so these guys are anywhere between 22 to 39 a piece, depending how you want to go. So let's go with the least expensive route. So you can get a 3-pack for $79. So you still need a 4th one for Z. So let's go.
$88 for 4 of them at $22.
Yeah.
And then you got to add the
Pulleys.
pulleys.
Yeah, so GT2. Oh, you need a closed loop belt for Z, right?
That's gonna come because I
Oh.
I didn't order the steppers. I did order pulleys or sprockets, whatever you want to call them, and I got the endless loop and the sprocket for the top of the Z
Okay.
in there somewhere. Because I didn't order the spindle either, or the motion control. I did order the power supply, but I got a 48 volt, not a 24 volt.
So, well, here's an interesting thing, because the motion control part is 120. So,
Right.
in theory, if you did go Linux CNC right out the gate, for, I know, 79, or actually less than that, $65, it would be all 4 axes plus a DB25 port.
Right.
Right out of the gate.
Right.
But then you would have to introduce a dedicated machine, and when I say machine, a computer, to control.
Yeah, but you can pick up old XP machines for nada.
Yeah, mine is a Core 2 Duo with a 2.8 gigahertz processor in it. Runs like a champ.
Yeah.
And this is for Tyler?
Yeah, that's kind of.
Okay. I mean, how does he feel? Does he want to use the provided Gerbil, or does he want to go a different
I don't
route?
know that he knows yet. I think he was asking me, and I think I don't know that he knows. I think he was just asking what machine I have. But
I imagine he's using some fairly sophisticated cam, so I'd get away from the Gerbil personally.
Yeah, I mean it's a good tool. I think to get it working and to get everything lined up, to make sure everything is square and running. And once you know that it's all running, and then go to Linux CNC from there, at least you've got less that you're fighting.
True. Yeah, because the setup on the Linux CNC side, it's not going to be plug and play.
Correct.
No.
But ironically, if you did go Linux CNC, it would be cheaper.
Hold on, guys. I'll be right there.
So, okay, let me go back here. So, John, you're thinking the spindle, the stock spindle, or the DeWalt?
I did DeWalt all the way.
Okay, so that's 35. So we're looking at $694 plus shipping. So the $694 plus.
Where is he located at?
Minneapolis.
So that's not too far from Chicago.
Nope.
So he wouldn't get killed real bad on the wasteboard shipping.
Yeah, somebody was saying that they got hit with $200 of import taxes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the people in Australia get raped.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys down in Barbados that are getting nailed with customs and shipping and everything else. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, so I emptied my cart real quick, and I'm going to add this stuff so I can get a price. So he would still need 2 GT2 pulleys. 3. One for Z2, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. X, Y. He needs 2 for Y. 1 for X. And
here's a 5-pack.
1 for Z.
Oh wow! So you can either get 2 and 3 meters of GT2 belting for $16.95, or you can just get 5 pulleys for $12.99. So we'll just go with the 5 pulleys. So let me open up the calculator, or I'll just say it out loud here. Okay, so we're talking at 121.48 for 4 269-ounce inch. I'm sorry, 3 269-ounce inch steppers, and then 1 at 179, and then 2, or really it's 5 GT2 pulleys, but he would really need 3, plus the base price of the x-carve, which would be $6.94.
Yeah.
And that's including the mount for the spindle, which would be a DeWalt. And the thing that really agitates me is, I swear to God, like a year ago when I bought the DeWalt, anywhere you walked into or online, they were anywhere between $79 to $99, and now they're like $129. I mean, nothing. I don't think anything's changed from the version I have and what they sell now. So I don't know what the deal is with the price hike.
Inventables.
No, everywhere. No. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
They realize that people are using it for CNCs.
Yeah, and it's not just Inventables. I think a lot of people use that for murder.
And here's another agitating thing, right? So what I got was a white box. It was just the spindle alone, nothing. It's $129. But if you get it with the frickin' the little palm router thing with the handles on the side, it's $119.
Yeah.
What the hell's up with that?
It's all marketing. You know, these companies, if I were marketing in these companies, I would come up with a CNC router version of these, a spindle motor version of these.
Oh my God! Imagine one with like a PWM in.
Yeah. And with some sort of a port out that you could control. They would sell these by the truckload. Yeah.
Oh, and then the collet.
Yeah, there's so much they can do with this. I'm surprised they don't. Make more use of it.
It was interesting.
Good.
It was interesting. I went to Inventables Facebook page, and they said 1,555 people had liked the page. So they're stalling the hell out of these machines.
I'm assuming more than 1,000 people.
Oh yeah.
And giving a lot more of them away. I wonder how many.
Yeah, every other day I'm seeing a YouTube video. Oh, I just received a freaking x-carve. I don't know what it does, but
it's a bunch of free advertising.
Yeah, I know. But what they really should do is find the pros in the forum and then do it that way versus like just giving it out like candy to people that really don't know what it is. Or just stays in a box for 6 months.
Well, I get why they do that. There's this. What's that young kid who's got a woodworking page? I think he's in Norway or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like watching him. But he got one. I can't imagine what they paid for shipping to that. He didn't have to pay for it. But same thing. He didn't know anything about it, and he was upfront about what they told him. They said they wanted him to review it. They wanted it honest. If he didn't like it, they wanted to know why. And they wanted him to tell his subscribers why. So at least that's cool. And I think what they're trying to do is find people who don't know how to use them, so that they have more marketing. Just say, listen, you don't need to know how to use this. Here's people that are using it. So I kind of get that.
Hey, Eves?
Yes.
Turn down your speakers, or move your mic to a different position. Your feedback really bad.
Oh, wait. No.
Testing 1, 2, 3. No, still feeding back.
Is it still feeding back now?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you.
Well, crap. All right. Well.
There. See there, the feedback goes away as soon as you do that. So push to talk is your mode of operation from.
Just buy a headset. Come on, man. For the love of God.
Yeah.
No, it's so quiet without him there, though.
Yeah, really. No feedback.
I know. Now it's like he's not even here anymore.
Yeah.
every time I kept hearing that, it was like, today, I'm the luckiest man.
In the world, in the world, in the world.
Uh,
Well, you know what it does? It just screws me up for talking. I mean, I can't talk straight when I get all that much feedback. But
your headset did quit chirping too, by the way.
oh well, I've got it plugged in, so.
It could be just interference from something if you've got a cordless phone near there, or I don't, who knows.
Yeah, but it's a 900 megahertz. I think it's an old self or cordless phone that's sitting quite a ways away. So
Should be
I don't
fine.
know. Yeah. Yeah, you can get Tyler, set up if he wants to get a machine. And
Yeah,
like I was
and-
starting to say, I'm sure he's using some. If he's optimizing toolpaths, he's
Oh, they've got some killer.
he's
machines
got
there that
some
putting time
access
on.
to
Yeah,
some killer cam
yeah, he does.
software and probably some killer 3D CAD and everything else. So
They have a server farm there that when they're working on this, they'll get they'll get the G code in that they'll have to optimize, and they've got a server farm there. I don't remember 20 or 30 machines, whatever, and it's basically what they do is they take whatever they're simulating and they dump it to that, and it does all of the optimizations, and it's
Right.
absolutely crazy
Right.
stuff. But all for military. They're working on something for the F-35 right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're probably taking great big huge blocks of titanium and milling it down to a fraction of its original size.
Yeah, titanium, and then there's some other Inconel,
Inconel, yeah.
some some weird shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Inconel's a form of stainless steel.
Oh yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
So.
but he's got a pretty cool job. Tyler went to some school for nanotechnology, and then he decided he wanted to be a pilot. So he's a CFII, certified flight instructor, twin engine certified.
Wow.
He's done all that, and now he's going to school for mechanical engineering.
Wow.
We talked about it. He was like, mechanical engineering or electrical engineering? I'm like, well, a mechanical engineer will get hired for an electrical engineering job all day long. Because I think you get a much better education as a mechanical engineer, much more rounded anyway. And I think electrical engineers, it's just so focused that you're not going to get the mechanical engineering background that a mechanical engineer will get. So you're more limited. So I think he's pretty happy so far, though.
Yeah, generally it depends on your work exposure.
Yeah. I asked you earlier, Tony, if you understood what I was saying about not a good idea to move your machine once you've homed it manually, to move it, to force it to move with the steppers engaged.
Oh yeah, no. This is with power off.
Yeah, and see, but with power off, once you power off and move an axis, then it loses its homing and everything else.
No, that's the trick, is trying to change the bit without moving anything.
Yeah.
So far it's been okay, but with my little dinky NEMA 17s, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. I was thinking that if a person could do it, just decide on a tool change position, and then set it up so that when the carriage and the gantry move to the tool change position and it raises the Z-axis up, that you can drop some pins or some way that you lock the X-axis and the Y-axis in place. You physically lock them.
Yeah.
And then you can make your tool change, and then go down and do a touch plate to get your tool length offset. Pull the lock pins, hit go, and the machine then goes over and continues to make the part with the new tool.
Yeah, I was looking at my machine again today, trying to figure out a way to put, like, thumb screws or something to be able to lock X and Y.
Right.
And there doesn't seem to be a good way to do it, so I have to look at it some more. I mean, every time I looked at it, I'm like, well, I can put one here. It's like, well, then it's going to be forcing up on the V wheels. It's going to be forcing out on the V wheels.
I think if you could, for the X, you've got the top of the carriage there, and then the maker slide underneath it.
Yep.
And if you could build a sleeve that you could drill a hole in the carriage and mount that sleeve so that there's only just a very small space between the maker slide and the bottom of that sleeve, and then move it, to a position, and then drill through the sleeve and through the top of the maker slide, one of the two maker slides, that will just fit a pin, so the pin goes down and drops through, and then drops through that hole in the maker slide and locks the carriage so it won't move left and right.
Right.
And then possibly the same thing on one or both sides of the y-axis with horizontal pins, so that when the carriage moves, all the way forward or whatever, that you insert pins in there and locks the carriage so that it won't move in the y-axis.
Right.
And then it's just telling, jogging your z-axis up, but not, well, if you've got limit switches functional, don't hit those, go up just to them, and then you can loosen your collet nut, drop your tool out, put the other tool in, tighten your collet nut back up, and then pull the locking pins, and then tell it to go down and touch on a touch plate to set the tool length offset, and then away it goes. So it's doable. I don't know what you have as far as machining capabilities at your location. If you've got a lathe or anything for making a sleeve that you could install in the various places that needed to be installed.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I do know in my day job I work with a lot of different shops, so I can pull a favor for that stuff. I've done that before.
Ah, okay. So all you need to do is then design it up in your favorite flavor of CAD and go from there.
Yeah.
What CADs are you using?
Day job, it's strictly AutoCAD 2D.
Okay.
Here, I've got to start getting an Onshape more because they finally got the 2D drawing stuff.
Well, that's right. I've seen you on the Onshape forum. I'm thinking. Yeah.
So that's a huge thing, I think, because people can now bring in their their AutoCAD 2D stuff and start extruding and
Sure.
using that geometry.
Yeah. 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 It just pisses me off that they've stifled the free users so badly with that 100 megabyte limit to.
Yeah, I just went through that because I had like 2 files, and of course I was doing the gray market kind of. Okay, well I'll mark these inactive, and I'll layer all these files into one file. And turns out I was over the limit, and I asked the guy like, "Hey, I've only got these 2 things. What's going on?" And he told me exactly. He's like, "Well," he goes, "it's like the history for that one particular file was just so big." He says, "Export it, re-import it, and it'll zero out your history, so you've got no history, but
Right.
all your geometry's still there."
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing with the parametric stuff. I mean, it's like, it keeps history forever, which is nice, but it also sucks.
Yeah, well, it makes for some bloated files. I know.
Yeah.
I had a simple file that was 25 megabytes big, and I made a copy of it and then deleted the original, and it dropped it to 2 megabytes. It does free up a lot of your storage space.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I keep advocating, and so do a ton of other people, that they need a semi-pro plan that they're charging $25 a month or $30 a month, and taking that 100 megabyte limit off, and everything else. But
Yeah.
whether they'll do that or not is
Have you done any of those phone interviews?
yeah, I had.
Okay.
When they were first thinking about changing the free plan, a kid from Onshape sent me an email, and we set up a Skype conference or a Skype call, and I talked to him for close to an hour, and I flat told him that it was not a good idea to reduce it to 100 megabytes and make it 10 files with no ability to shift them in and out of active. And he said, "Well, people are getting confused with the activity inactivity." Well, then I wanted to say, how dumb are they? But I didn't. Jesus.
Yeah, I think I gave him like 2 parts of my day and over a few phone calls. The guys will randomly send an email, like you said. It's like, "Hey, we want to get your feedback." And
Yeah.
I called him back a couple of times, and basically just bitched about, like, the first thing I did was bitch about lofting, like how there was no lofting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they've definitely got a ton of features that they need to add if they want it to be mainstream mechanical CAD and go up against the big boys. They've got a long ways to go.
Oh yeah, well, especially with
and
the Fusion stuff. I mean, with the Fusion doing cam, it's like, well, Onshape's got to do cam now.
yeah, they're definitely gonna want to incorporate that. Of course, somebody asked, is cam going to be part of the? He asked if it was going to be part of the pro plan, and I think 3D CAD came back and says, well, how did he word it? I can't remember how he worded it, but he did a good a good thing of comparing. How did he do that? I can't remember, but basically he said, well, don't expect cam to be free.
Yeah.
and I doubt if it will. I mean, if you want good, solid CAM software, it ain't gonna be free.
Yeah.
You know, I run for my 3D CAM. I run Sprute CAM version 9, but I got it because I own a Tormach 770, so I got a killer deal on it. But it still ain't cheap though.
No.
But
Well, once again, today I ran a few jobs today, and just trying to use easel because it pretty much just works. But the toolpath optimization is nowhere near optimized.
No.
I mean, I had a couple of holes being drilled in a pocket, and instead of just drilling the hole, like it did the pockets, and that was fairly uneventful except for a stupid thing where it was going from inside out. It would mill up to the final pass, pull up to safe Z, move over, drop down, and start cutting where it left off before it even went up. And then once the pockets were done, it went and pecked at two holes that were on opposite side of the material, and so it would drill down like one depth of cut, pull up to safe Z, index over to the other hole, drop down.
Oh, jeez.
Lift up, go back, peck down, lift up. Come on.
Yeah,
wow.
I opened easel one time and drew a square in it and did something else and went, no, not for me. Sorry, folks.
Well,
ain't gonna use easel.
What's way worse is that the two-stage beta that I'm on. So theoretically, it's saying, okay, you can do a roughing and a detail pass.
Right.
And the buttons, when you say carve, it says, okay, do you want to do roughing or do you want to do detail? And the button itself says, roughing will cut anything you can get with the big bit, and then detail will only get the stuff it can't get with the big bit.
Right.
And that's completely false. The detail bit follows every path that the roughing bit did.
It does the whole pocket, right?
Yeah, I mean it's like, so it's like, okay, I've got an 1/8 inch end mill and it's milling a big pocket, and then it's going in and cleaning up with a 1/16 on an internal pocket. No, there's no point. There's no radii that need to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
So I had to think through everything and delete the geometry that didn't need to be cut twice, and I had to break up into two files, and and that worked, but God, it's just a pain.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Did you say you tried Linux CNC once, Tony?
No, I messed with
did.
Linux years ago, period. That was it.
Well, if you really want to optimize your machine, my personal opinion is toss the Arduino, toss Gerbil, get yourself a good 4-axis driver board that will run on a parallel port or a Mesa port, and either get Mach 3, Mach 4, or Linux CNC, and just if you're going to do anything at all serious with the machine, are you setting your machine up so that you can maybe turn a little bit of a profit from it?
Actually, the main reason I bought this is strictly for prototyping.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm making like, one of one, and then once everything proves out, I just have shops do everything in volume.
Okay. Okay, and what kind of prototype parts are you doing, if I could inquire?
Yeah, Basically, it's 3 or 6 millimeter acrylic that I'm just basically 2D machining.
Okay.
Um, I just started playing now. I'm doing a project where, okay, let me backpedal a bit here. I started a company in 11 that focuses on vehicle lighting.
Okay.
So lots of LEDs and winky blinkies, mainly for show cars that want to show off their engines and their this and their that.
Sure.
But and most everything of that, I was having laser cut out of acrylic sheet. It's either 3 mil or 6 millimeter acrylic sheet.
Okay.
And this latest project I'm doing is actually it's going to be for a magazine build of a Cobra kit car.
Wow.
And we're doing custom tail lights. And I decided it's like, well, I could make this thing out of like 3 or 4 pieces of 3 and 6 millimeter acrylic, or I can just hog it out of something thick. And so I've been doing a lot of stuff where I'm machining 3/4 inch PVC foam to be the frame for this tail light, and that's what I was doing today. Where I said, oh, I'm off by 7/1000ths, and that's where my geometry was off by 3, so it wasn't really that bad. But basically loading up 3/4 inch thick PVC foam and hogging chunks out of it to make a housing for a tail light assembly.
Okay. One program that you may want to look at is a pretty good 2.5D and limited 3D CAM program called CAMBAM. CAMBAM.
I've definitely heard of that.
It's
reasonably priced.
Yeah, it's reasonably priced, and the developer will let you run 40 projects on it, and he doesn't cripple it at all. I mean, you can run 40 projects, and once you've reached your 40 project limit, then you've either got to stop using it or purchase it. And I'm trying to think. I think it's under $100.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I know it's under $150.
What does it need for input?
DXF.
Okay.
Yeah, just a DXF line drawing, and it does. You do have to, if you've got let's say you've got an outside profile that's got lines and radiuses. You know, all your corners. It's a rectangle, and your corners have got radiuses. What you've got to do is your DXF will import as individual lines and radiuses. And you just
I found that actually with because since I'm using easel, I might do something in CAD and then bring it into Inkscape as DXF, but everything comes in as separate entities.
All right, and it does the same thing with CAMBAM. But what you do, there's an operation called join, and you hit your control key and select all the elements for that outside profile, and then go up and tell it to join, and you can put in a gap feature. I leave mine at 10/1000ths, and hit join, and it converts all those elements to a single polyline.
Nice.
All right. So now that when you select it, and you go up and tell it you want to do an outside profile, then it'll let you do an outside profile, and you can set your depth of cut, feeds, speeds, tools, if you're doing a roughing, if you want to leave 10 thousandths, you can leave 10 thousandths. You can put tabs in. You can select a tabs selection and do automatic tabs, and it'll put as many tabs as you've got as a default, and then you can move them around, and you can do roughing. You can leave 10 thousandths for roughing, so it'll actually machine 10 thousandths away from your profile line, and then there's lots of post processors to choose from and everything else, and you post it, and then it'll when you load it into your control software and push go, it'll do that outside profile. You can also do pockets inside profiles. You can do drilling cycles. You can drill with an end mill. If you've got a 1/8 end mill in there and you need a 1/4 inch hole rather than change to a 1/4 inch drill bit, you can do a spiral drilling pattern to drill your hole. It also has some limited 3D capabilities. So if you load a, let's see, does he use STL files? I think it's STL files that he loads for 3D, an STL model. You can do waterline 3D, and there's several 3D profiles that you can do.
Yeah, because I started playing around with Meshcam.
I hate Meshcam, but that's my personal opinion.
Okay.
I liked it, actually. I played with it.
It seemed to be the cheapest thing I could find that could import a 3D model and do waterline and all the other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, CamBam will do waterline and parallel and
Have you
several
tried
others.
Fusion yet?
What's that?
Have you tried Fusion yet?
No, I haven't. I loaded Fusion and tried to draw in Fusion, and it was just so foreign to the 3D CAD program that I work in.
Have you tried it, Tony?
Yeah, I basically can echo what David just said.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it at all. I mean,
it's very different.
I've got significant 3D, what I would say, graphic background. Like for 3D for art's sake, basically. I've used
artsy-fartsy stuff.
Yeah. Well, typically the application's used for that. I mean, it's
right.
I've been modeling in 3D for decades, and Fusion made really no sense to me. Onshape made slightly more sense, but it wasn't huge.
Yeah. Well, of course, Onshape, you sketch and then extrude or extrude cut, and everything else, loft and revolve and all that. So once you get used to it, it goes pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it was much closer to the 3D apps that I've used.
Right.
And like one example might be like Maya. That's like a big old 3D app.
Yep.
I started playing around with 3D on my old Amiga. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Jesus.
I worked for a company in Minneapolis, Chicago. We sold weather graphic computers to TV stations based on the Amiga.
Oh yeah, was it like toaster stuff or?
Well, we did some toaster stuff later on. It was the company was called Weather Connect. It was In Chicago, there's a weatherman by the name of Jerry Taft, and he was actually the.
He's the guy that built an airplane in his condo. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Jerry. Well, yeah, he also had a coke problem when I knew him. That wasn't the only problem. He was he was a nice guy. I liked him, but he was one of these guys that So we had a condo downtown Chicago, and that was where Weather Connect was based. And he would come to work. He was one of these guys that come to work with gold chains all over, and
that sounds like Jerry.
Yeah, it was Jerry. He was a pretty cool guy. I got a ride. He was
Small world.
Yeah. I flew with him one time. We had a Mooney. I don't remember which Mooney it was, airplane, and we flew from Chicago to Kentucky one time for a sales deal.
Scare the shit out of you?
No, he's a good pilot. He had a Christian Eagle. If you know airplanes, it's a kit built. I think they were kit built basically, biplanes. And the day I go there to fly with him to this place in Kentucky, I get there and his wife says, "Oh, he's up in the Christian Eagle," and I get out there. They lived in a place in Naperville called Arrow Estates, and he was out. I went out to the hangar in the backyard, and I get out there, and he's up in the Christian Eagle doing just freaking crazy shit. But yeah, the Amiga was awesome. There was two guys that kind of wrote it with us. Well, wrote it with them. One guy was a guy by the name of Gary Bonham out of Seattle, and he was a government. He had done work for the government on satellite stuff, and so he did a lot of the moving map stuff that they did. And it was really cool software, way ahead of its time. But I bet you they probably sold a couple hundred of them.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. I've got a background in IT. I worked for a company in Spectrum. It's called Spectrum Holobyte, Microprose Spectrum Holobyte in Alameda, California, and video game companies. And so a lot of those guys use Maya and Lightwave. Lightwave. Yeah, we had hundreds of SGI workstations there. That was what everybody used back in those days.
Tony, I just saw that link that you posted and just clicked on it. Yeah, that whole unit in CamBam would be easy peasy.
Nice.
The oval pocket, would be machined first. The two big round pockets. Probably next. That center rectangular pocket with the four bosses in it next. Then the drilled holes last, and then the last thing you'd probably do is the outside profile, and you'd put some tabs in to hold it to your material so that it doesn't go south on you when it finishes up the profile, and then all you've got to do is with a fine-tooth saw saw the tabs off and a little bit of file and sanding work, and you've got a finished unit.
Definitely going to check that.
Yeah.
If you look at the green part in the lower right.
Right, the round one, yeah.
Yeah, my brain exploded trying to do that step in the middle in easel.
Oh, easy peasy. That's yeah, but that's you use the OD of the top of the ring, and then you just tell CamBam that you want to do an outside profile from the top of the part down to where that shoulder is, and if you want, tell it you want to leave a 10 thousandths roughing, and he'll just go around and it'll stop at that shoulder, and then it would then do another trip around and take the and you can climb mill the finish pass, just 10,000ths,
Sure.
and then you use the OD of that step, and tell it you want to machine the rest of the way down with an outside profile with maybe three tabs in it, and same thing. You tell it you want to rough to with a 10,000ths roughing, and then you go back and click on that OD again, and tell it that that's the finish pass, and you set the tabs up exactly as the other three tabs are set, so they coincide, and it'd go around and take off the extra material and leave the tab so it doesn't cut it free, and it's of course you do the inside pocket first and that inside drill first before you do the outside profile. The two outside profiles would be the last 4 operations that you do.
Sure.
Are you doing the circuit boards too?
That was one of the reasons I got the x-carve, was to do the actual, just the regular material stuff and do circuit boards. So
Nice.
Circuit boards are on my next phase.
That's a nice little thing. You got any pictures of the actual of one you've made yet, or no?
I have not made any yet.
Oh, yeah, you're still working on it. Yeah.
And are these stop turn indicator lights? Is that what they are?
These are actually tail lights, yeah. So basically, so if you look at the first link I posted, that cylinder with the big pocket in the lower right, the center of that gets the brake light portion. Around the perimeter is a strip of side firing LEDs that makes a halo, or like an angel eye ring of light. So that would be your parking light or your running light. And then when the brakes are depressed, the whole thing, the center lights up, everything lights up.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm going for another.
You do the design on these too, or is that something else that somebody comes up with? Or?
No, it's all me.
That's awesome, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, that's... Yeah. Yeah, personally, I looked at these and said, no, ain't gonna use it. Ain't going there. But, like I say, I've got a paid copy of CamBam that I use for 2.5D stuff, and then I've got a paid copy of SpookCam 9 that I do for 3D stuff, and I've done some fairly complicated 3D stuff on my 770 milling machine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that project is ripe for CamBam.
Gonna look at that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, for $100, I mean, if that works, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, and I don't. Yeah. I'm trying to think what it costs, and I can't just off the top of my head remember. I'll look real here.
All right, here we go. I got $149. That's still not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, mesh cam was $250.
Yeah. And like I say, he'll let you run it for 40 projects before you have to make the decision to buy or give up. Um,
Yeah,
and
I'll have to see how they define a project.
it's like I say, load the DXF, and then you just highlight the particular portion of that DXF file that you want to machine, and tell it, if you want to pocket it or profile it, or what else is there? Let me open Kanban real quick, and I can tell you what the options are. Come on, Kanban.
Anything you can think of off the top of your head as to why you did not like Meshcam?
No, I can't.
Okay, that's fine.
It was just, it was difficult for me to get it to do what I wanted it to do.
Gotcha.
All right, we have profiles inside and outside, pockets, engraving, 3D profile, drilling, and imported G-code. And you can also do some limited CAD work with it. You can draw polylines, circles, point lists, rectangles, text, insert an arc, and import surface mesh. So it's it's, in my opinion, it's for the price, it's a fairly powerful 2.5D limited 3D program.
Gotcha.
So that's but,
I will review that with my morning coffee.
there you go. There you go. While you're at work, eh? Now, do you work from home or? Oh, that's tomorrow's Sunday. Duh.
Yeah.
And Monday's a holiday. Duh.
Yeah, no, for some reason, I can't do anything physical right when I get up, but my brain is moving a million miles an hour, so.
I see. Well, when I get up in the middle of the night to make a trip, if I'm not careful, my brain will come on, and I'll spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours building and designing stuff. Right now I'm in the process of rebuilding these little Z drives for a friend of mine. She got these from a guy in Germany, and the supplied top piece is garbage. I mean, this thing flopped all over the place when you put it down on the lower unit, and so I've machined a pair of new top plates that are right down to the nitty gritty, so that they don't flop around.
Was that like a mounting flange?
Yeah, this is the mounting flange here, and it'll mount up to the bottom of the vessel. It'll sit inside the vessel, and then there's a timing belt sprocket that goes on this shaft, which is the steering portion of it. Then there's another timing belt sprocket that goes on here with a motor for rotating the
Wow.
propeller. There'll be a propeller in the nozzle.
So there's a bevel gear down at the bottom of that?
Yeah, there's a bevel gear down here in the bottom of it.
Is it like a brass sleeve up top, or just...
Yeah, this is brass and copper, and so, but and I'm a partner of mine, and he's in New Zealand. We are building much larger Z drives that take a 73 millimeter four-bladed Kaplan propeller, and are all metal with all metal gears and everything else. There's no plastic in the drives for RC model tugboat enthusiasts, and that's what the talk earlier in the thing was how to control these Z drives so that they'll rotate it at a known location on your transmitter.
Yeah.
So that when you put it joystick one direction, it'll point, and if you move it, it'll rotate there, and you can vector your thrust accordingly. So
You'll like
so
this, Dave.
So
that's an antenna mount for my truck.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
Big guy.
Who did that for you?
There's a guy out of Missouri that makes them. It's the old school ball mount style.
Oh yeah.
The ones you buy nowadays are all plastic, but that's all brass.
Yeah. Yeah.
4-inch plate. So this splits down the gasket, and then one half
Sure.
goes on the outside, bolts through the fender.
Yeah.
That's for HF Mobile. Yeah.
Aha.
I meant to talk to Eves. He said something about ham radio. I was wondering if he was into
Oh,
that
did
as
he?
well. He
He
mentioned
dropped
something
off.
about
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have to run too, guys.
Yeah, I should too.
Ditto.
Should too. It's getting there.
Yep. 9 o'clock. Well, I guess we can stop the broadcast. I'll do that first.